Have you ever noticed that when we search for side hustles, we almost always find two kinds of advice? The first kind promises fast results. The second kind sounds like it requires a new degree, 3 certifications, and 2 years of experience. And then you close the video even more confused than when you started. Because you're not just trying to make money, you're trying to figure out what your next step should be. Especially if you're going through a career transition. Maybe you recently left a job. Maybe you're thinking about changing industries. Maybe you're tired of doing work that no longer feels meaningful. Or maybe you've simply realized that relying on a single source of income makes you uncomfortable. And that's exactly where many people make a mistake. They start looking for a side hustle without understanding what stage of the journey they're currently in, because there are stages, and each stage requires a different strategy. Today, I want to show you the 3 levels of side hustles. And as I explain them, you'll probably recognize yourself in one of them. Maybe even more than one. Because the truth is, nobody changes their life overnight. We change stages. And everything becomes easier when we understand which stage we're currently in. Let's start with the first one. Level 1. Survival. This is the stage where the goal isn't to build an empire. It's to catch your breath. It's the stage where money takes up space in your mind. Not because you're trying to get rich, but because you have responsibilities. Bills, commitments, people who depend on you. If you're in this stage, you've probably noticed that money stops being a topic. It becomes a recurring thought. You're washing dishes, and a concern pops into your head. You're trying to watch a movie and suddenly remember a bill. You go to bed, and your brain decides to schedule a financial meeting at 11:30 p.m. No invitation, no warning. And what's interesting is that many people feel frustrated because they're not building something big yet. But maybe that's not the goal right now. Think about Anna. She recently left her job, she has bills coming in, she has responsibilities, and she dreams of working for herself. But before thinking about scaling, automation, or building an online business, she needs something very simple: peace of mind. Because when money stops being a constant emergency, your mind starts working properly again. That's why, at this stage, the best opportunities are often the most practical ones. Local services, small gigs, reselling products, quick freelance work, anything that brings cash flow, not forever, but long enough to create stability. Because stability isn't the destination, it's the runway. Level 2. Specialization. Now imagine your situation has started to improve. You're no longer putting out fires every day, and you begin noticing something interesting. Working more hours doesn't always mean making more money. This is where the desire to learn something new begins: a skill, a profession, a specialization. And at this stage, something funny happens. You start seeing opportunities everywhere. You go grocery shopping. You get an idea. You're sitting in traffic. Another idea appears. You watch an interview. A third idea shows up. You go to bed. And right when you find the perfect position on your pillow, the best idea of the week arrives. Sound familiar? The problem is that ideas usually arrive much faster than execution. If paying bills with ideas were possible, a lot of people would already be millionaires. But this is exactly where the transformation starts. Because now, you're investing in something that increases the value of your time. Think about Ryan. He realized that continuing to do the exact same thing for the next 5 years would probably produce the exact same results. So he decided to learn a skill. Maybe it's video editing, maybe photography, maybe artificial intelligence, maybe social media management. At first, it feels slow. It feels like nothing is happening. But there is a magical moment. The moment when someone pays you for the first time for what you've learned. It might be a small amount, but emotionally, it's huge. Because at that moment, you're no longer just studying, you're creating value. It's a feeling that's hard to explain. But anyone who's experienced it understands. Level 3. Scale. And now we arrive at the stage that almost everyone dreams about. But interestingly, it's usually built on top of the previous two. At this point, you begin noticing a shift. You're no longer looking only for ways to make money. You're looking for ways to create time. Because eventually the question changes from, how can I work more? To, how can I make this work without depending entirely on my hours? This is where digital products appear. Content channels. Affiliate marketing. Digital assets. Think about Sarah. She's already gone through the survival stage. She's already developed valuable skills. Now she's creating something that continues producing results even when she's not actively working at that exact moment. And there's an interesting observation here. When we hear the phrase passive income, it sounds like someone pushed a button and money started appearing. But the reality is usually different. It's more like planting a tree. First you plant it, then you take care of it, then you wait, then you keep taking care of it. Then you start wondering if it's ever going to grow. And only after that do the first fruits begin to appear. That's why so many people get frustrated. They're trying to harvest before the tree has grown. Not because they lack ability, but because they skipped a few steps. And maybe right now you're thinking, okay, but where do I start? And my answer is, start from where you are, not from where you wish you were, not from where someone else is, from where you are. Because life rarely changes in one giant leap. It changes through small steps that seem insignificant on the day they happen. But when added together, they completely transform a story. So if I could leave you with a simple plan to start today, it would be this. First step, write down your dream. Yes, write it down. Don't leave it floating around in your head. What do you want to build? What kind of life would you like to be living 5 years from now? How much would you like to earn? What would you like your days to look like? Because it's very difficult to reach a destination that was never defined. And don't worry if you don't have every detail figured out yet. You don't need all the answers. You just need a direction. Second step. Accept that this transition will require consistency, not motivation. Consistency. Because motivation comes and goes. It's like that friend who promises to arrive at 8 and shows up at 10. But consistency is different. It shows up even when you're not excited, even when you're tired, even when the results haven't appeared yet. And it's those small actions repeated over time that create big changes. To Padron. Third step. Stop measuring your progress every single day. Imagine planting a seed today and digging it up tomorrow to check if it's growing. It doesn't make sense, but that's exactly what many people do with their dreams. They start something new, wait a week, maybe a month, and decide it isn't working. When in reality, they were still in the root-building stage. And almost everything worth building spends some time growing quietly. Fourth step, allow yourself to be a beginner. Because there is a stage where you're no longer who you used to be, but you haven't yet become who you're trying to become. And that stage can feel uncomfortable, but it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of transformation. Nobody learns a new skill as an expert. Nobody builds something meaningful without making mistakes. Nobody reaches the next level without looking like a beginner for a while. And that's okay. It's part of the process. And finally, try. Because many of us spend more time imagining everything that could go wrong than imagining everything that could go right. Maybe it won't work the first time. Maybe you'll need to adjust your course. Maybe you'll need to learn a few things along the way. But there's one thing I've learned from watching people who transformed their lives. They didn't have guarantees. They had courage. The courage to take the next step without knowing exactly where it would lead. And you know what's interesting? A few years from now, you'll probably forget many of the difficulties you're facing today. But you'll rarely forget the opportunities you let pass because you were afraid to try. Because losing is part of the journey. Making mistakes is part of the journey. Starting over is part of the journey. But there is one question that tends to become heavier over time. What if I had tried? So write down the dream. Take the first step. Be consistent. Learn. Adjust. Keep going. And remember, you don't have to change your life this week. You just have to be a little braver today than you were yesterday. Because great transformations rarely begin with giant actions. They begin with a decision. And maybe that decision can be made today. Before you go, I'd love to know something. Which level are you in right now? Level 1, survival. Level 2, specialization. Or level 3, scale. Leave your answer in the comments. I read far more comments than you might think, and I'm always curious to see where people are in their journey. And here's something important. No matter which level you're in, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. The person you admire today was once a beginner, too. They had doubts, they made mistakes, they changed directions, and at some point, they probably wondered if they were doing the right thing, just like you. So be patient with yourself. You're not behind, you're building. And sometimes building doesn't look exciting while it's happening, kind of like assembling furniture. For a while, it just looks like a pile of random pieces on the floor, until suddenly it starts looking like something. If this video helped you see your situation a little more clearly, hit the like button and subscribe. And if there's a topic you'd like me to cover in a future video, whether it's side hustles, career changes, making extra income, building skills, or creating a life with more freedom, leave it in the comments. I read every suggestion. Thank you for spending these minutes with me. Take care of yourself, keep moving forward, and I'll see you in the next video.